You know what time it is.
How it all works.
Come on.
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 What's up? What's up? What's up, family? It's good to be back for another episode of How It All Works. That music, man, I tell you what, as far as my pre-show routine goes, for those of you who have been following me on YouTube, you know I preach that you got to have a pre-show routine, man. That intro music is a part of my pre-show routine. It gets me so pumped. But yeah, let me know where you're watching from, fam. You know what we got on deck today. It's branding. That's what it's about. We got two giants in the land, if you will. And I'm excited to have that conversation. But yeah, if you're here for Sharona, let us know in the comments right now. Go ahead and shout her out like, Sharona, what's good? She's coming up first. And if you're here from Milan, then let her know. You know what I mean? DMV stand up. I know y'all out there. So, let me know. Listen, folks, man, it's just been such a great season with How It All Works, man. And this month has no different whatsoever. Social media the first week, branding today, photography next week. I see Kevin. I see you, Kevin. You there? Photography is next week. And then we got web design the last week. And I literally just put together that panel. It's coming together quite nicely. And in the month of February, we're doing side hustles, man. We're doing side hustles. I call them bolt-on businesses, but my wife was like, don't call it bolt-on. But February, the entire month, we're going to be doing side hustles. It's going to be good. Yo, Lemuel, what's good? What's good? So glad to see you. Thank you so much for showing up. But yeah, this is what we got on tap for the month of January. And let me show you something real quick here. Let me take that off. This is what we have today, right? For those that need the station identification, we're going over branding. And we got Sharona Drake Sledge. We got Mylon Medley. It's going to be quite that discussion today. Next week, I just want to kind of let you know right away, right here at this stage here. This is what we got going, man. Photography and video. We're going to be focusing more on photography, but we can't just touch on photography, especially as it relates to PR. When we're talking about photography, you got to bring in some video as well. And so DRBT, some people call him, Bryant Taylor, Pastor Taylor, some people call him. This is the guy, the media pastor extraordinaire, one of my mentors. He's going to be on the show. And then Elijah Leffridge. Now, let me tell y'all something. If you guys don't know Elijah, you need to go get on Instagram, follow this brother, Elijah R. Leffridge. Follow this brother. He is doing big things. Excited to have him on the show. Excited to bring this discussion to the How It All Works community and family. And without any further ado, we're going to dive right in after this little beat, after this little intro. Me and Sharona are going to chop it up and we're going to figure out how it all works. Sharona.
Hey.
What's good, sis? I feel like we've been trying to get this thing together for like 2 years, man.
Listen, I'm just happy to see how it all works. That's why I'm here. Okay?
Man.
I'm here to learn from the greatest. I'll just say whatever.
Rona, listen. Let me come clean with the HIW family. Look, listen. Me and Sharona, we are a part of a team at the Bridge, and we put together praise and worship for the Bridge at least once, twice a month. So we get a chance to rap, chop it up, and get a chance to see her beautiful little boy. Met up with her husband as well. So just excited to have a friend on the channel today. Y'all need to know though. So now that I've said that, let me just also share she's a beast. Okay, y'all need to know that you see the website right there. You need to go ahead and take that down real quick. Now, Sharona, there are some people in the audience who don't, have not experienced the greatness that is Sharona. So just take a moment right here at the outset. Just take a quick moment. Tell folks a little bit about who you are and what you do. Now I know that's hard. But try to stay within the confines of what your business does. Go ahead.
Right. As opposed to I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody.
Hallelujah.
Oh my God. No. My name is Sharona Drake. I'm super excited to be here. I am the CEO of the Nameless Group. I've actually been the CEO of the Nameless Group for 10 years now.
Wow.
Most people don't even know that, right? Thank you. I've been full-time with it for the past 3 or 4 years, which is crazy. So we're a branding firm. We actually started working with artists and record companies first. And then we transitioned to work with some small and medium-sized businesses and personalities and things like that. So we do everything from brand strategy to web design to sales funnels and, graphics and all of that kind of great stuff.
Nice. So, okay, now that was bite-sized. That was nice and short and sweet. But what about the rest? Talk to them a little bit more. Because, I mean, so I know you as a vocalist, right? A vocal powerhouse. I know that's how we came into one another's spheres. Came to our church one Sabbath. Pastor Green was like, yo, we got a guest vocalist. She's going to lead out. I'm like, all right, cool. And then we were like, what just took place? I mean, there was it was something else, man. It was free worship. That I'll say. It was free worship. So just tell a little bit about some of the other things that you do outside of the Nameless group.
Yeah, I love that you said it was free because honestly, that's a part of my personal brand. So there are two words that I use that are my core values, which is something I make sure any client of mine can identify. My two core values are freedom and risk taking. Those are my personal core. So anything I do usually falls within those lines. So when you see me lead worship, you should see like, oh, she's free. And, oh, can you do that? Did she just? That's what that's a risk. That was a risk. If you got to get kicked off, those types of things. So yes, I am an artist. I've had the privilege of recording with amazing artists that we've all heard. I've had the privilege of touring internationally with Charles Jenkins and all of that great stuff. I'm also an author. I'm the author of the book After They Touched Me. Yes. It's the story of how I turned my sexual trauma into a glorious triumph. And I've been an urban missionary, and that's kind of my love too. And so primarily my primary work has been in Atlanta and Chicago before I had a kid and all that kind of great stuff. But what urban missionary means is I believe in serving. I believe in serving in some of the most dangerous places. But usually when you think of a missionary, you might think of somebody in like a long skirt and, just like...
Come on. Educate them. Educate them.
I got the gray hair. And,
listen, I'm looking at Mylon backstage. She is dying. Go ahead. We're
going to do it.
We're going to do it.
And so, in the urban context, I believe in serving and all of that kind of stuff. Thank you for looking at the website.
Man.
So really, the reason why I kind of do a little of everything, of course, when I was single, I could do anything, right? But I believe in being free. This is a part of my brain. It's part of who I am personally. I believe in taking the risk. I believe in if you have an idea, kind of go for it. Now, for years, I was doing a little bit of everything. I think over time, I've had to start, especially in the last couple of years, thinking of things a little more clear as it relates to me. Having a kid, realizing, okay, what direction do I want to go in? Because when I was kind of single without a kid, it was more like, whatever comes to mind, I'm going to do it because I can.
You're free. You're free.
I'm free. I don't have any bills. I don't have a person that's a bill in my house, right? And then, you have a child and they become a bill for years to come. And so you have to think of things differently, which has been great. And finding that precision, right? And how do we make it all come together? How do we make it all work? Because a lot of us...
I like how you said that. How do we make it all work? See, she's working it in. Y'all just don't know. This branding thing is all in here. And I want to say this. I want to say this, Sharona. You guys, I hope that she's not just introducing herself. She's talking about branding. I want you to plug in right from the beginning here. She's talking about words that she has identified, 2 words that she's identified as part of her personal brand. And she makes sure that those are present in every time you experience her. I think, tell us in the comments what you say. I mean, has it been free? Has it been risk taking here already at the outset of the show? Man, so Sharona, I want to pull it back just a little bit. I want to ask this question, right? From your experience, like you're in the field. You who better to define this thing? You've already kind of sort of answered this question, but from your experience, walk us through the true purpose of branding. And I hear so many different definitions of branding out there. would love to hear from you. Like, what's the true, like, for business, for brands, for organizations, what is the true purpose of branding? I see she did that food. That's my girl Fiona Lewis in the comments. She's here. She has a phenomenal company called She Did That Foods, and she's here with that question, right? Branding. Help us understand and to define it right here at the outset.
Okay, so the reason why there's so many definitions is because there's going to be some unique nuances to whoever's answering.
Right.
Because branding, at least for me, is clear communication. That's how I always try to put it for people who don't get it. So if you've ever been in an argument, right, or you're talking, especially if you're married or you've been in any type of relationship, and you're like, making your point, and then the other person responds, and you like, by your response, I know that there's no way you understood what I just said, okay? Because I just asked you to go get a pencil, and you said, "Cause it's blue," and I don't even know. Like, that's how it feels.
We're not talking the same language. Go ahead.
We're not talking the same language. The purpose of branding is to communicate something in such a way that they hear what you intended for them to hear, that they feel what you intended for them to hear. So when I say something, you hear what I intended for you to hear. When I look like something, you feel it. And so we use everything to communicate clearly. Branding is not a website. It's not just a graphic. It's not just a picture. It's not even your product, right? Because you can have, we talk about She Did That Food. You can have amazing food if it's not plated in a certain way, right? Someone could interpret that it's not amazing, right? Because you have different types of learners.
Right.
You can have amazing food that's plated a certain way, but then you have people who lit the plate and smell it.
Yep.
And if it doesn't smell a certain way, they're like, I'm good. Don't worry about it, right?
I'm all right.
Right. For me, branding is understanding that there are different types of learners.
Yes.
And because we understand that, we are going to communicate in a way that's true to ourselves. And as best as we can, gets the message across in a way that you interpret it the way we intended. And so we use visuals, we use, experiences, we use the inflection of our voice, we use the color of our hair, we use every single thing to communicate with what we call with TNG, our perfect person. Ooh. We understand that it's kind of like, okay, I'm not for everybody, but I am for somebody.
There it is.
And a lot of people, when they get with branding, like, okay, how do we get everybody to love this? Right. Good luck with that. You're not going to make much money.
No.
Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about business, the goal is to make money. The purpose of branding is to make money. Now we can bring that back. Talk about the other stuff. But so, we're here to make money, which means we need to find your target audience. We need to find out your nuances, and we need to be okay with being for somebody and not for everybody.
Everybody. Woo! She's saying a whole word right here.
Once we know our perfect person, right, which, we've identified that person. We know how old he or she is. We know where they live. We know all these things. Then we can get down to the nitty gritty.
Right.
Where do they live? How much money do they make? What social media platforms are they on? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. What do they drink? Mm-hmm. What are their favorite colors? What's their type of music? And now we can be intentional. Okay. So if we put up a picture of a person that's sitting there, that person has the type of hair of a perfect person. They have the drink that's like, oh yeah, that's my alkaline water.
Yeah.
Everything is now intentional for that perfect person. We want to be so comfortable in ourselves, right, that we can be fully authentic. The organization can be fully authentic to who we are. And because we're so okay with that, we talk to people who get it. I'm not trying to convince people who don't get it to come over here as much as I'm trying to find the people that already connect, pull them in. Right. And have them experience the joy of being fully themselves.
Listen.
So that's with Apple people are Apple people.
That's
Samsung
right.
people are
Samsung people. Right.
Then you have those that's like, crap, I need both because of my job and what I do, but because that's where I am. There's everything is intentional. We want to communicate, but the first thing with any business for me is going to be the head. It's the CEO. It's going to represent.
Right.
We need to get to know who that person is.
Right.
And we need to make sure they're free, they're authentic, they're whole enough to dig deep, because my job is to help you be so self-aware that I can pull out your little nuances that we're going to call your competitive advantages.
Yes.
You can be comfortable with those things, and we can put those on a platform so that your perfect person sees that and says, hey, that little thing is me.
Listen. Let me jump in here. Let me jump in here for a second. I just hope. Where are we? We're 5:46. We're like just 10 minutes in. If we take off the 5 minutes I did before, we're 10 minutes in, folks. I really hope that you have your notepad and pencil out, because she's giving out gems. She's giving out gems. Some of you are wondering, how do I do some of these things? How does it all work? How does it all work? You see what I did there? You've been asking yourself these questions about branding for a very long time. She is breaking it down to the bottom, brass tacks. Okay, start by understanding yourself. She said, look at your nuances as competitive edges. Listen, this is gold. Somebody needs to be throwing some hashtags. I need to be seeing hearts flying on the screen. This is absolute gold. This is a masterclass. We have another question for you, Sharona. Yeah. And because I want you to be free to share with us from your personal experiences, some examples where branding had the desired effect, or maybe it didn't, where we missed the mark. Give us some examples, because I think this is going to help to really drive home what you have shared. I mean, I think you've laid a firm foundation for somebody who was out there who was kind of, it's kind of ethereal. It's in the air. I can't really touch what is branding. I thought it was photography. I thought it was my videos. I thought it was social media, my logo. No. Understand your perfect person, your avatar, your customer profile, your target audience, whatever term you want to use. Understand that, and then work backward. Who is that person? Because what they drink may not be what you sell, but that's the type of ad that you want to have your product around. You see, all of it works together for branding. It's the subtle things. It's not always. So one of the things I always say to people is Apple is a great technology company, but they're a far better advertising firm. They're far better branding than they are, in my opinion, in terms of being technical. And it's because of those things, understanding that smaller audience. They make less phones, even though they know there's more demand, because they want to create that little bit of a frenzy, that overnight wait in front of the Apple store. That's branding. Sharona, but here's the question. So some of the examples, give us some examples from your own experience with branding where it had the desired effect. We want to hear, give us and for those who are watching, her website is there, thenamelessgroup.com. Book a session. Listen, we need to patronize our own. Our own. Book a session. All right. So Sharona, talk to us.
Yeah, I'm going to answer both sides. I'm going to answer how it doesn't work. And then how it does. I'll start with myself, how it doesn't work. I'm a creative, right? So I'm an artist, but I also have this business mind and all of this. A part of my issue, and this is an issue that I find with a lot of creatives, inventors, business owners, we have lots of ideas. What we don't do is figure out how they all work together. We compartmentalize, right? And so what I found early on, personally, with my personal brand, I was doing so much, no one knew what I did. It was almost like I couldn't figure out, like, do I go the route of author? Do I go the route of singer? And so I'm pushing out all this content and not taking time to figure out how it kind of all works together. What is my underlying theme? Who am I really reaching out to, right? And so I would work really hard and not get the funds that it looked like my content said I was making.
Okay. Yes. I love that. Right. It looked like. Oh,
mercy.
Mercy.
It's amazing.
Yeah. She's cleaning up. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was really funny because once I kind of laid back, I actually was making more, and people just like, I don't know what's going on. But I think when it doesn't have the desired effect is when we don't really know what we're doing. We're just doing everything that our passion leads us to. What that really is we have a lack of self-control when it comes to our brand and our passions. And so for a lot of creatives, we have ideas and we have to go. We feel something like, oh, I got to do this TV show. Oh, I got to do it. And we have no business structure. Ooh. We have no education on how to take people through a funnel. So we're doing everything at once instead of, like you said, dripping our content or dripping our products, or, we're like, I'm going to put out an album with a book, with a t-shirt, with a this, and it's all one day, right? And then the audience, like they should have said, okay, what's next?
What's next? And you're like, man, ain't nothing else.
Like, I just put out this thing, y'all. My heart and my soul. It doesn't have the desired effect when you're doing too much at once. Wow. That is tough. Okay, so you have to have a plan. Brands that do it really well, from my own experiences that do it really well, I have a couple of different types of clients. I have one client that's one of my best clients, but he still has that I got to do it now type of thing. And he doesn't feel like he's working unless he's doing a lot.
Wow.
He's a little older, right? So if I'm like, hey, sit still, we're going to start the sales funnel. I need you to not do anything else. We're going to do this. We're going to segment your audiences, run your ads. We're going to figure out which one works. We're going to go for, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, cool. And while you're doing that, I'm going to do 30 videos. And he'll shoot 30 videos in 3 days.
Wow.
Right? And he feels like, I killed it. I got everything you need.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, no, we actually need one video. We actually need just this, or this isn't working and you didn't give it time. Because you feel like money is more work. It's a slave mentality that I should feel like I'm working so hard. And so I'm throwing things at people, all these different products, and they go to my website and I have 20 million things, and I'm updating my personal website now. I have 20 things, but they don't know who I am.
Damn.
They just know you're amazing. I just don't know where to put you.
Ooh.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and we do this with our businesses. On my personal side, I've become more okay with, like, whatever you call me is whatever it is. When it comes to my business, right? When people get it, I have to be very clear. One of my strengths is brand strategy. That's what people come to me for. I've had to become okay with that. So I have the desire I get the finances I need from that, getting people to lay out their foundations, all of that. But you have to be okay. I think, like we said, Apple does a great job. Chick-fil-A does an amazing job with branding. Because branding, when you're a small business, it's you, it's the CEO, it's that. When you start defining your brand and you have your brand heart, you have your values, you have your perfect person, right? What you're talking about there, which a lot of us miss because we just want to go, is culture. You're writing down your culture. What are your buzzwords? I literally, if anybody's on a team with one of my clients, this is what we say. Anytime people encounter us, they need to hear this word. It's just like when you're around friends and you realize they all do the same thing. Like, oh, I know you so-and-so's friend. Do you know so-and-so? Your mannerisms start to change, right?
Right.
It's the thing. Like all of my friends, we go,
with the just eye up and down.
And you start spending time, and you'll start saying, just like that inflection, right? When Chick-fil-A does such a wonderful job of creating a culture, you might go through, I think at one point, 1.5 months of training.
Right.
So that the culture is embedded in you before you go to work. The Army, another example of amazing branding.
Yeah.
We don't think about the military.
Wow, never thought of it that way.
Your language is going to change. You're going to use acronyms. They literally work on how you walk. You march a certain way when you with us.
Wow.
This is the brand of the Army. These are your
the haircut, high and tight.
Your haircut. What? You talk about a brand?
Wow. Never thought of the Army. That is amazing.
You were in the military. Military people know each other. You could be, take your hat off here. You put your hat on here. You stand up here, whether you're with us or not. this is incredible brand. It's a culture that stays with you forever.
Ever.
Right.
It's ingrained. Wow.
Right.
That is
Chick-fil-A, people don't think about that. But Chick-fil-A, you say, thank you. They're always going to say my pleasure.
Wow.
They don't say you're welcome.
No, they don't. Wow.
That's a part of their training. It's the culture. And so you feel like they hire nice people. No. Their brand is so clear that they train people in their culture so that they say, hey, you never say you're welcome to people. Okay?
Right,
you work for Chick-fil-A, we say my pleasure.
Come on. Woof.
And we're going to repeat that with you so much that they think we just hire great people. No, we make great people to match our culture.
Oh my goodness! Listen. If I don't get Mylon in here, we're not gonna make it. That's gonna be the whole hour. It's gonna be the entire hour. Listen, Kevin, I see your question. We are coming back to that question because he was referring to that client that you had that was like, yo, let me do these 30 videos. He's saying that sometimes that's me. So how do I get back on focus? But stick a pin right there. We're gonna get to that. But I want to get Mylon in here. When I get her questions, get her perspective, and then we're going to bring you right back on, Sharona. So, man, listen, folks, buckle your seatbelts. It is going to be a crazy, crazy ride. I pressed the wrong button, but that's okay, right? This is what we do in live. Mylon Medley, how are you?
Kirk, I am so upset at you. How are you going to make me follow Sharona? Like, I'm just sitting here. I'm taking notes. I was so immersed in y'all's conversation. I forgot I was a guest.
Oh, so no.
Let me get my head back in the game here. No, that was awesome. I can't wait to get her back up.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to do that. But listen, I know you have branding has so many different sides and so many different perspectives. And I'm so glad I was able to get both of you two different tracks, different perspectives. You work for a global brand, national brand. I want to get into that a little bit, but before we do, I want the folks to know a little bit about Mylon Medley. Tell them a little bit about yourself so they can kind of get a feel for it. Listen, this is the How It All Works family, Mylon.
Hey.
We know you're new, but we're happy to graft you into the family. We got a lot of folks in the comments chopping it up already. And they're responding. Some of them are saying they love your purple background. They're responding. They're responding to some of the things that Sharona has shared as well. I know Fiona Lewis is like, yo.
I wish you could have seen me. I was back here like.
What? Listen, I can.
Fire.
What's as you well know, the producer gets to see everything, so I can see you.
Right.
But man, take a second and just kind of tell people a little bit about yourself. Some of the things that you do, visual storyteller, journalist. Talk about yourself a little bit, and then we'll dive into these two questions.
Yeah, so I, like you said, I'm a journalist by trade. Got my master's at American University.
Nice.
Left there 2012. Went right to work for the 44th president of the United States. So we pay no mention to number 45, and as a White House intern. And from there, all of my professional experience from that point has been within the Seventh-day Adventist church, the denomination within the corporate structure. So at first, I was at its world headquarters. I was there at first as like an editorial assistant. I worked directly with the PR director for the world headquarters, commonly referred to as the GC. And then from there, I went down to, or up the pike to, to the North American division. So the North American territory of the Seventh-day Adventist global denomination. So that's where I am right now as the assistant director for news for the communication department within the North American division. It's always such a mouthful to describe where I work. But yeah, but at the end of the day, I say that I'm a professional storyteller. And hey, Elijah,
he's gonna be on next week, man. So cool.
Yeah, I was excited to see that. So I say I'm a professional storyteller and story consumer. So when I'm not doing work, I am engrossed with beautiful, well-executed stories, whether that's like television series, films, podcasts, audiobooks. I cannot get enough of like post-apocalyptic sci-fi,
I wonder why.
anything. Well, because it literally takes me off of this, like out of here. Like when the world's just so
These
crazy,
four walls,
I'm
right.
like,
Let me
what
check
would
out.
like 1,000 years from now look like? Because this right now ain't it.
No. But
yeah.
it's what's crazy, and I don't mean to cut you off, but what's crazy is even that has its own branding to it, correct? I mean, it's like has its own aspects of branding that are around it, and they gravitate toward a certain person as well. So that's so good, man. We're getting some some good comments from our viewers, and we're getting some absolute gold. So here's our first question, and you're already familiar with these from your experience, right? How critical is branding when the entity is larger, right? I know I put the entity touches the entire world, and I know that your perspective has been at both national and international brands. But talk about some of the aspects. I mean, I know you worked in the PR department for both of these entities. What does that look like when the brand is so huge? Or let me not say brand, but the footprint is so huge. Sharona touched on Chick-fil-A and several others. What does that look like when it's huge?
Yeah, and when you travel, doesn't matter if you're like here, you go to Europe, continent of Africa, Asia, you see golden arches, and you're like, oh, McDonald's is over there.
McDonald's there, right,
right. Because they have those golden arches. You get close enough, you can smell the fries, so there's consistency. There may be some regionally adapted items on the menu, but you go to a McDonald's, you know what you're going to expect.
The experience, right.
Yes. So even if you're in the US, you go into McDonald's, you're going to know the milkshake or the ice cream machine isn't going to work. That's just somehow it's part of
somehow.
Somehow. But yeah, so it's just consistency, right? And so when it comes to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which has 21 million members, everywhere on the planet, there's representation of Adventism in some form or fashion. So, but a lot of times people don't realize that they may be interacting with Adventism, whether it's like a school or a hospital or churches. Right. And part of that reason is people are really liberal with their use of logos.
There we go.
The logo. So we've seen, especially when I was at the GC, oh my goodness, so many examples of people just putting their own spin on those logos. You're like, what are we? Because we even heard about, I believe it was a church or a conference in East Asia. I can't remember which country, but literally every time they created or they had an event, they adapted the logo of the church to mirror the design or the color. So like, this is crazy.
Wow.
And in an attempt to have something equivalent to the golden arches of McDonald's, there was this large undertaking of coming up with the mission re-emphasis and the branding. So creating like a new symbol, new logo.
Right.
But with that, we, and I'm not sure where your listeners are tuning in from, we may be thinking English, we may be thinking US, but we have to think every single typeface. So every character, like what font would be well suited in things that are not in the
Latin based. Wow.
Yes, like Sanskrit, so that was a large undertaking. But just to that point, and I wasn't directly involved in the process of it, but just in helping to communicate that out. Like, hey, this is what we're trying to do.
Right.
But one point I did want to make, because even with Seventh-day Adventist Church touching the world and with North American division, where I am, still part of the global church family, as we like to say, touching North American division, with this, it's still beyond touching the world. It's a well-established institution.
Right.
So it's like, how do you, for people who already have well-established opinions, about the institution, where does kind of branding come into that? And that was the same, like I said, in my brief time in the White House, also a deeply established institution,
right.
Polarizing opinions. depending on who's in there, but there's still a level of a certain attitude people hold toward the White House. And then for the denomination, whether it's like positive, negative, or like, I don't know, but aren't they a cult kind of thing?
Right.
But at the root of all that is like your mission. What at the end of the day are we trying to accomplish here?
Wow.
With every decision that's made, everything that's posted, there has to be consistency, not just in how it looks, but in its tone, in the passion, in the intended results, how we hope it inspires, or like what the impact we want them to feel, want people to feel as a result of coming into contact with us.
Yeah.
How do we want you to feel after experiencing us?
That's a tall order. That's a tall
order. It is.
Order.
It's tough. And when you're dealing with the world, and sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
And you're dealing with the world, and not even have to deal with the whole world. When you deal with North America, there's so many cultures. And you get into Adventism, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, there are many subcultures within the Adventist Church. Because so I'm Black American, and you could say like, oh, Black churches are like this, but I know me as a plain Black, as I say, because I'm just American, down the line, just like straight from slavery, like transatlantic slavery. That's when my family got here, and we're just here. I don't have any, fun ethnicities, but so you have Black Americans and you have Caribbean Americans, and you have African American, all of those three groups that are sometimes lumped together as
Black,
the Black, totally different experiences.
Yeah.
So you have to keep those things in mind. Obviously, every time there won't be like how can one like truly draft something that will hit every single subculture, every single, it's just it's just being intentional and in tune with your mission.
I think this is where, and I see your question preached to me. I think this is also where having specific branding for specific groups. If you are an entity that has, I think Sharona said this so well. If you are an entity that has to touch everything, then you need to start, dividing up who you're speaking to. Because at the end of the day, those groups are probably congregating in different spaces. They're on different platforms. And so you find the outlets where that group predominantly is looking to for news or for updates or whatever, and then you craft your messaging there specific to the audience that you're speaking to. You don't put the same message on your website where the 90+ crowd is going to go and put that same message on TikTok. It won't mesh, right? So understanding that there's got to be some, content specific to
diversification.
I think that's so critical.
Even when you said website, 90-year-olds, they want something in their hand.
You're right. You're so right.
If we want something, if we want our elderly constituents to be informed, we need to make sure, we have our monthly publication, Adventist Journey. We keep them in mind. They're the ones who write to us. If anything happens with distribution, we think about them. Like if we can't get physical things out, there's a whole segment. And then, you can say the same, on the other end, how's your social media doing? Because, social media, are you really doing anything? So it's just a lot to consider. That's why a lot of times, and I do agree that the institution, the denomination does get criticism for maybe not saying or moving fast enough for a lot of things. And I think a lot of times is warranted. But from working within the institution, I can see when you have to consider all of those things.
Yeah.
I've heard it described as like a slowly turning ship. Like you can't just do like this and the ship goes like that. It's like you're doing this.
And you're doing that for years before it actually starts to turn. That's crazy.
For years.
Listen,
you gotta consistently, turn it, consistently turn it toward progress.
Toward progress. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Listen, I'm gonna try and get both this last question and this video. We're gonna play 60 seconds of this video. The first 60 seconds of it's gonna give us some context of what we're watching here, and then you can kind of frame it in terms of the second questions, because our second question was, you know, share with us some examples where branding made the difference. And
and the video's related to
this question. So here we go. And again, we're going to get to these questions once we get through this, and we're going to bring Sharona back on screen. So bear with us, but because I think this is critical for you to see.
Hello. It's wonderful to sit down with the three of you guys. This is a interesting time in this territory with dealing with racism and social justice, and it's a privilege to come and to sit with you three gentlemen to talk about these issues as it relates to the church. So thank you so much for joining me. I have Daniel Jackson, the president of the North American Division, Alexander Bryant, who is the executive secretary of the North American Division, and then Randy Robinson, who is the treasurer. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So the catalyst of why we're here today, this movement that we're all a part of right now, were the unjust deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. Can you share with me what were your initial thoughts when you first heard about their deaths?
I'm going to let a little bit of Elder Bryant's answer.
For me, when I first heard it, I didn't see the pictures. In fact, someone texted me and told me that there had been another murder of a young black man. And my first thought was, here we go again, not another one. And so, you know, it hurts your heart to see that happening in our country. But when I saw the video, I had another type of deep guttural reaction to it.
Yes.
This is a video.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit. I know this is a lot. So but share with us a little bit about what we saw there and what that experience was like, especially given the global nature of the brand.
Yeah, and so this kind of, when I considered this question that you wanted to ask, that experience came to mind for a number of reasons, both personal and work. And this kind of touches on what Sharona was saying about authenticity. So I don't think if I hadn't been my most authentic self at work, I don't think I would have been asked to moderate and lead that discussion that you're seeing there.
Wow.
Because I am at my most confident self in knowing who I am and what I'm passionate about, and I am comfortable and I feel safe enough. I know a lot of people in their workplaces don't feel safe enough to bring a fuller version of themselves to work. And I understand, I can empathize with that. But because I've been able to, and because of my proximity to the president at the time, he's since retired, we would just talk about these topics all the time, just casually. He'll just stroll by my desk hey, Mylon, and I'm like, hey, what's up? People may not think they could have that type of relationship with the president of the NAD. But so when all of that happened, right, summer of 2020, all of that happened, and statements were made. There were a few, because there was one about asking for a day of prayer.
Right.
That Sabbath after all that happened, it's hey, dedicate the Sabbath to prayer. Let's pray for our country, our church. Let's just pray. And then there was a statement specifically about everything that had been happening, and I was honored to have been asked to be part of that drafting, reviewing process. Again, because of the conversations that I'd had, not only with the president, but with my boss, 5 years ago, Mylon wouldn't have really felt comfortable talking about this out loud, or my notion of what I can and cannot talk about at work was totally, it was warped. I wouldn't have thought I could have spoken about this, that people cared,
Yeah.
People do. There are people in these institutions that do care. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you're blowing my mind in terms of your personal brand. I think even as I've crafted this question, I was thinking at it from a different perspective, but this is so good because I think this is right where everybody can grab at it, because everybody has a personal brand, and showing up as your authentic self can open doors for these kinds of opportunities. I just, man, this is so good. I hate to cut. I didn't mean to cut it in the middle, but I just wanted to share that, and I want to make sure that people are catching that. Sharona, we're coming to you. I just want you to know, don't run nowhere. I see you. Don't go nowhere. We're coming to you, but please go ahead and finish. I hate that I cut you off there.
No, it's fine. And I still I'm just still so humbled, even though we're months away from that.
Right.
Before even that interview. So I was even humbled to be on the phone call and going through the document and offering feedback. I'm like, wow, me? I'm not elected. Yeah, I have like this assistant director title, but I'm not signing any documents. You won't see my signature on things. So that was great. But then my boss called me and said, yeah, the officers want to have an on-camera discussion about this. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And they said, they want you to write the questions and to interview.
Wow.
I was like, me?
That's big. That's
yeah. And considering the topic, man, because like my dad's a minister. We've been an Adventist minister our whole life. So Black Adventism has been like drilled,
yes.
so it's like, I know
Doc
that
Medley, man. It's good people, man. And my dad is pro-Black everything. And I got, he gave me like a bit of that militant streak too. So I'm like, wow, I look at this opportunity, God. I didn't even ask for it. I didn't even know it was something to be asked for. And not only just moderate it in terms of like, softball. Yeah, field question,
answers. I wrote the answer. I mean, not the answer. I wrote the questions.
Wow.
I wrote the questions. And
listen, folks, I'm gonna link to this video in the description of this episode of How It All Works. So if you check it, a little later tonight, you're gonna see the link to this entire interview in the show notes there underneath, in the description, I should say, underneath the video. But I want to make sure that people can get at it. Man, what an interesting concept. I want to see if we can get Sharona back on here. Sharona, I know you've been waiting, but man, the content has just been gold. I mean, absolute gold. I'm trying to unmute you, Sharona. I think you muted yourself, but and here we go, almost there. No, did I mute them? Oh, I muted. Okay, my bad. It was me. It was on my side.
Hitting it like at the same time.
We were both.
Yeah. I see people are saying that please link to the video in the description. We will definitely do that. Wow. I want people to in the comments right now write your definition of your one sentence definition, your shortest definition of branding. Write that in the comments right now in the comments, whether you're watching the replay or you're watching live with us right now. Put in the comments what your one sentence definition of branding is. But Sharona and Mylon, wow, my time is almost done. I mean, you guys are phenomenal. I've got to do a part 2 of this thing. I'm bringing both of y'all back. But I wanted to give some time for both of you guys to kind of talk with all of us on screen together. I know there's some things that Sharona shared that Mylon wanted to speak to. There's some things that Mylon touched on. I know Sharona wanted to touch on as well. I saw you in the background there. So, but yeah, let's just take a few minutes to do that while they're talking in the comments about what their definition of branding is. Any comments, anything that we've touched on for the entirety of the show that you wanted to kind of follow up on with another point?
I think I'll jump on the question, can branding exist without purpose?
Yes,
I
please.
think that's a really good question. And I think it was kind of answered even with Mylon. Absolutely. There's always a brand. The question is, are you being intentional? Do you know what it is? Is there brand confusion? But you always are saying something. If we go back to that idea of you're saying something. Now, people are hearing it the way you want to be heard. That's the question. But your organization, you personally, you're making a statement. When Mylon was asked to curate these interviews and all that, it's because she had a brand just by being herself.
Just by being herself.
Right?
So good.
your organization does have a brand, whether it's good, whether it's clear, all of that.
Regardless. Right.
It's there. Whether you know your purpose or not. That's when, Mylon talked about knowing your mission, knowing why you exist. What do how do you serve? We talked about your competitive advantage. Those are things that helps you to have a clear brand.
Wow.
But does it exist? Absolutely. Do you know your purpose? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You may think your purpose is your product. That's unfortunate for you. Because times change so quickly that your product might have to adjust. And if you think your purpose is what you do and not who you are, you're going to go through a lot of changes, right? That will cause you a lot of stress. Branding is a personal work. That's why I like to start with a person. If you think your purpose is based on your talent, which is your product or whatever it might be, right? If you think that's what makes you special, your talent or your product, then when someone else more talented comes, you're going to feel like crap. Let me hate this person or hate this brand, or let me figure out something else to do. That's not the case. I love to walk my clients down bread aisles, and say, you see this bread?
Right.
Every family has their own bread. I go to your house, if I buy Kirk some bread, you're like, oh no, we don't do this. We do
don't do that.
Oh no,
Yeah, come on.
That's true.
Come on.
Wow.
But, so when you realize I'm not for everybody, but I am for somebody, right? And you realize your purpose, the idea, you have a purpose. You just have to realize it personally. You have to realize it as an organization, but it's there. We just help you to realize it. And what Mylon does on a large scale is helps you to communicate that on a global way. Okay, this is how we're going to communicate this. This is how it's going to be perceived. So we can't use this word when we're advertising in Japan because that's rude. We can't, but purpose is the same. We want you to feel love. Well, love is communicated differently with different people, but our purpose is to love. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense. I'm telling you, this is gold. And let me tell you how good it is. My guy, this is Corey and his wife. These guys are followers of my channel, subscribers of my channel. He just put in $20. Right, he just literally he just dropped $20 in the super chat because of what was being shared. Now he also wanted to see if he could get Sharona to sing. He did want to see if he did want to see if he could get Sharona to sing, but that's a whole nother thing. See, Corey, man, I tell you what, man, I don't know if we can get her to sing or not. I don't know, but listen, this is gold. My cousin just jumped in here as well. She's like, speaking your message to your person without words, mercy. We saw from BT, who's also going to be on next week. So both of our guests from next week are going to be are in the chat right now. He says, method used for others to identify you without seeing or using your name. Well, that's good. Branding is
BT is the GOAT, by the way.
Listen, BT, that's my guy, man. Branding is the unique expression and footprint you leave to serve the world. I like that one. Branding is authentic and consistent communication. Listen, folks, we've had. I got to go back to this one. Listen, if you do a super chat, your comment stays on screen. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You put $20 in the piggy bank, you get your comment on screen. Okay, but I mean, so I want to bring back up here the last question for the day before we get into our plug your hustle. So that's coming. I told you guys that in messages. You're going to be able to plug your hustle here pretty soon. But my last question is, for those who are thought leaders, who are brand ambassadors, who find themselves running their own little side hustle, or they're a full-time entrepreneur and they're thinking about the entirety of this conversation, where would you recommend that they start in terms of branding? Where would their best effort be put in to establish their brand in a way that uniquely, or let me not say uniquely, but effectively communicates their message to their client population? I know it's a mouthful. But yeah, this is I know this is the question. This is the thing that a lot of folks are wanting to know. let me put this up for just a second. What is that advice that you want to give to people in terms of branding that will help to push their business and brand forward, especially when they're thinking about, okay, this is where I am. What do I do? What should my focal point be?
I would say get you a Sharona.
Listen,
I mean, yeah, but in all serious too, because
I
even
like
in
that.
this conversation, I hadn't thought about it until just now. Branding is really self-awareness. Like, what are you all? And I love that self-awareness has even entered like the global ethos, right? People are suddenly realizing, hey, we need to be a little more like, who am I? How am I being received? How am I interacting? Is the person who is being received by others the same person that I believe I am?
Ooh.
And maybe sometimes realizing a dissonance, a disconnect. And knowing when, hey, I know Sharona can help me with that disconnect, or I know this person can help me with that disconnect. So it may be good to take a step back if you feel like you're up against the wall, if you feel like you need help being inspired and motivated. Like, let me just examine, take a self-inventory, what's going on here, what's working and what's not working. And I want to give like a quick shout out. This isn't my side hustle thing, to health ministries within the North American division. So earlier last year, pre-pandemic, or it may have even been late 2019. Anyway, they were just trying to think of the Adventist church is related to a lot of things. And one of those things is health. And so, growing up, if you grew up in the church, you heard about the health message. And
right.
Depending on when you grew up, that term alone may make you go, oh, you may think of like New Start. You may think of a bunch of don'ts.
Right.
But there is beauty in taking care of yourself. But the packaging has been
terrible. Right.
And so they put together a small group of millennials, myself included. It was a very small, kind of like a working group, focus group, just to hear us out. What would you want the health message? What does that look like? And I, again, showing up as my authentic self, mental health is really important to me. I said, I think it's such a disservice for this church that has all these health resources, knowledge. You can take the co-founder of the Adventist Church out of it. It's just you can focus on the doctors, you can focus on the nutritionists, you can focus on the hospitals. I was like, but now in the world, there's a shift toward mental health, and we're still dealing with stigma in our schools, in our churches. There isn't enough coming from the top or coming out about this is what we can do for mental health. And that was echoed around, with the others in the group. We would love for our church to be talking about mental health. Because honestly, I get my advice, or maybe not advice, content that's curated for those people who are seeking for mental health or self-awareness or just self-growth. That's not coming from anybody's church, honestly. And I'm like, there's this void. We are more than able to step into that void.
Yeah.
So
that's
with
good.
that, they decided to make that pivot and even announced it at this last, we call it year-end meeting, but it's it's called an annual business session.
Right.
But they had that wherewithal to let's bring other people who are aware of the culture, invested, who have its best interests at heart, because you can't just take advice from anybody.
No, I got you.
But have their best interests at heart, and let's hear what they have to say.
And that's good for the person that's out there listening, to be able to get a sample audience of the people that you're if you know your avatar, if you know that profile of the person that you're trying to reach, getting a sample audience of them and understanding what resonates, it's so critical. And I think that's what she's sharing here, is that this is what the health department and her entity has done, is they got down to the grassroots and started to figure out, okay, it may not make sense to me, but let me hear from the people that I'm trying to reach, right? That's one of the ways that you can be, you can get a leg up. I know, Sharona, you were going to say something. I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, I was listening. I'm over here. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm looking at y'all, and I'm like, they look so amazing. I'm sitting by my router. Why is it doing this? No. So
no, you know what? It looks clean. It looks clean on my side. But
okay.
I know I digress. But it looks clean on my side. But listen, I do want to just say a quick message to everybody that's watching right now. We're just going to take a few more minutes. We're going to go over by a few minutes today because I have to have these folks plug their hustle. I want you to know where you can find them, follow them, where you can get connected. I know that Mylon was half serious, half joking when she said, find you a Sharona. But to be clear, I really do believe that there are some areas when you want to level up in business, you need to get professional help. There's it's not all DIY. I'm sorry. You want to help, you get somebody who's going to help you chart the path forward, who's going to put together those methodical next steps. Branding is so critical. There is no business or brand or organization on the continent, on the planet Earth that does not need branding. And so we have an expert on the show with us today. Her information is already in the description of the video, so you can click that link. I see some of you have already done that. But book a session, man. You know, we're in everything is done on Zoom anyway. It doesn't matter if you're in Alabama, if you're in New York, if you're in California. Book a session because she can help you at a minimum begin to put some of the puzzle pieces in their right boxes and understand at a broader level. Maybe if it's not even the specifics, but just be able to understand at a broader level, what am I doing? And then begin to chart the way forward. This is not an area, again, I cannot stress this enough. You don't want to be experimenting, folks. You want to make sure your brand is something. I want to say this one last thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to both of you guys. One of the things I know from me, because it resonated with me so much, Sharona, when you said this, you know, because you have all these skills. And it was like, people were like, I don't really know what to do with you. That's literally my story, right? But one of the things that I really feel God gave me was the term how it all works. And then when I put it on top of technology, media, and leadership, which is literally me, right? This kind of gave me a space to be consistent, to keep showing up as me, because these are all spaces that I play in. These are uniquely Kirk. And so finding that was like a real, sigh of relief, like a breath of fresh air, because now I had a framework to be able to really go after some of the things that I'm interested in, passionate about. And really, the Tinkerers unite is what we kind of say here at HIAW, because we want to know a little more than just the surface, right? We want to know, we're going to go a couple levels deeper, even if we may never become experts in that area. We just want to know how it all works. And so that's the community that we're building around this brand. And I'm so glad that you shared that. So yeah, take a second right now to share with people, where can they find you, follow you? What do you guys have coming up next? Even if it has nothing to do with branding, this is the time. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so you can find my company, TNG, The Nameless Group, at thenamelessgroup.com. We're the name behind the names you love.
Right.
Thank you, girl. So you can contact me there. You can also follow me online at Sharona Drake everywhere. And just, if I can, just to answer that question, I think to go back and forth.
Please.
Piggyback, branding to me. Now, I also said that I help lay foundations. My specialty is brand strategy. So we're talking about brand, heart, mission, all of that. If you're going to build a company, okay, you need to have a certain level of awareness, but you also need to have a certain level of strength and resiliency. And that's what you find that a lot of people don't have. Erykah Badu, everybody, artists always talk about, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my stuff. Like, that's what she says, right? So when people want to comment on to her or make a comment about her art, sometimes we get so sensitive we can't hear. That's a heart issue. Okay, so when we're talking about self-awareness and stuff, and for companies, when you tell a company, hey, that was racist, it's not racist. No, and then you're having all these issues because you don't want to accept the fact that you need help. And you need to get a focus group. These are all character flaws. These are all, it starts with the CEO and then it goes with whatever culture or the lack of creating a culture, right?
Wow.
So you want to make sure that you're doing the personal work, that you could take criticism well, that you understand your strengths and your weaknesses, so you don't have to be everything for everybody, right? So when we start with branding, there have been clients that I've been like, hey, we're not going to work on this. I could make a lot of money off of you, but you're not going to end up making this money back. I have one client that I did that with. You're not going to make it back. I will have made enough money, but you won't make it back because there's something off. You don't want to be pretty. That's a problem.
Wow.
Like, that was her thing.
Wow.
She was light skinned. She had, beautiful long hair. And if you pointed that out, it made her nervous because she was picked on as a kid. She was hurt. Her hair was
She
cool.
needed to go get that. Wow.
So she always wore a ponytail. And one day, our first session, I was like, why do you always have a ponytail in your hair? She's like, what? Like, this is a business meeting. Why do you always have a ponytail? Huh? Why you never dress up? You know you're pretty. We get to a point, she starts crying.
Wow.
You're a therapist.
Right? That's a part of it, though.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Right?
Seriously.
It's like, what is your mission? We have to get to your heart. What are your core values? If I tell you to go speak, you can't be worried about being pretty.
Wow.
That's going to hurt the business.
Wow.
We need you to accept that you're pretty. We need you to be okay being Esther. Hey, Esther, you fine. And you're a virgin. Go in there to that king and be fine so the people can be saved. If you go in there and cover up your body, right? If you go in there and you just, I'm just a regular, you're here because you're beautiful first, Esther. So there are people that wish that they had your looks. Yes, this is an uncomfortable situation, but be pretty so people can be saved.
My
so
goodness.
A lot of that work your company might die because of the fact that you don't want to be pretty. We did a year of literally life coaching with her. And by the end, she was like, I don't even want to run this company. Yeah, I knew that from the beginning. So now let's get to your real work. She's happier than ever. I just got a text message. She started a whole new company, had wasted $100,000 on marketing. But really what she needed to do was accept the fact that she was light skinned with long hair and she was pretty.
Just accept it.
Then we can move over to the real business. So you need to start the work and your company needs to be like that. So you can be authentic about your finances. You can be okay hearing criticism. You can be okay with your strengths and weaknesses. You can strengthen your strengths and staff for your weaknesses instead of acting like you don't have the weaknesses or trying to put all your work into making your weaknesses strong. They're not going to be your strengths. Strengthen your strengths, staff for your weaknesses, and be okay with that. So it's really hard work, but I had to say that. The nameless group, if you want to cover all that.
No. That needed to be said.
I feel like I can just take my headphones off, just pack it up, turn off my lights, what else?
You and me both. Listen, folks, we're going to have Sharona back next week. No, just man, Sharona, wow. I'm thinking about myself right now. I'm not even thinking about the story that you just said. I'm thinking about Kirk, and I can see some of those check boxes. You that statement, fill in the blank. Go ahead and be blank so that these people can be saved. You could just fill in that blank with whatever God has blessed you with, and it's but go ahead and accept that you're that so that these people can be saved. That's just woo, that's good, man. I'm ready to, and the Lord, no. I'm not gonna be before you long, but I just need to deliver what God gave me. No. Mylon, talk to the folks about where they can find you, follow you, what you got coming up next, some of the projects you got in the pipeline. Talk to us.
So you see my IG down here, my_Lonnie. I'm most active on Twitter. I like to say that you can see my rants and retweets on Mylon Medley, just my name. In terms of what I have coming up, I'm really excited about this podcast that have going on with the NAD. It's the first and the official podcast of the NAD. Yeah, I was just really excited. I had this idea, ran it to my team. They loved it. Then it was got to pitch it to the powers that be.
Right.
Yeah, and they no resistance, just all praise and thanks. So it's basically, it's called News Points on the Air. So News Points, it's a brand extension of our weekly news service, News Points. So News Points on the Air is the podcast, comes out twice a month. So it's just me talking to dope people about timely, relevant topics, that relate to or share how people are doing good in their communities, or, you know, ways that we can inspire people to do well in their communities. So next week, I'm really excited. We are going to speak to the Chief Scientific Officer of Advent Health. We're going to talk about COVID-19 vaccines. We've discussed the role of civil duty and Christianity in an earlier episode. We talked to Kevin Wilson. I don't know if you know Kevin Wilson. He's the chai guy.
Yeah.
Gone viral on TikTok. Yeah, so I've had him on. So just had like really cool. I mean, it's like 30 minutes, nothing too long.
That is amazing.
But yeah, so we're still new. Only like 8 episodes in, but we're on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. And it's video and audio.
Nice.
So I'll put the video on YouTube and also on our Facebook, the NED Facebook pages as well. So if you search News Points on the Air,
if you send that to me, I'll make sure we could put all of it in the description below, so that as people, you know, as they come back, several people have said they're coming back. Please come back and watch. Please come back and watch.
Awesome.
But yeah, several have said they're coming back to watch again, to pick up some of the nuggets and gems that were given out. I was gonna ask, you know, man, how does one become a guest on said podcast? But then you start dropping them names. I was like, oh, hold up, let me stay in my lane. So, but man, I'm excited about what you guys got going on over there. That is amazing. That is amazing. I'm excited to see how some of the larger brands are pushing into some of these spaces as well. This is what it's all about. I think we need to flood these spaces with content that is just good for people, just generally good for people. And I just cannot thank you and Sharona enough for just coming out here today, sharing with people from a very, man, wow, the information was just so good, folks. And if you agree with that, let them know in the comments. Thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. And I'm going to wrap things up, but if you could just stay on for just a second after we go offline, I want to say something to you. Man, this has been an amazing time. It is, I mean, just wow, guys. Wow. I mean, some of the things that were shared, I am going to go back and look at the comments, look at the interviews, what was shared by Sharona, what was shared by Mylon. These are concepts that will literally shift what your thinking has been around who you are and what you're doing in the business space or in your thought leader world or in your brand world. But taking the time to build up who you are, to be able to show up in these spaces and be the best person that you can be is what it's all about. I mean, literally, where branding is concerned, as has already been mentioned, it touches everything. It touches every aspect of our lives, every aspect of our businesses. And so it's not an area that we want to skimp. It's not an area we want to guess at. We want to make sure we peek behind the veil a little bit. You know where I'm going. We want to make sure we know where the puzzle pieces all fit together. We want to figure out essentially how it all works. I hope that you will be able to join us next week for the show next week on photography and video. Bryant Taylor, Elijah Leffridge. It is going to be phenomenal. You do not want to miss that. So I hope that you can join us there. But yes, this has been a phenomenal episode, and we thank you for hanging in there with us, and we will see you next week on How It All Works.
How it all works.
Come on.
How it all works.
Come on.
How it